Folks, something very crazy is happening in the world of Street Fighter 6 right now. Quote unquote, so-called low tiers are blowing it up. There have been 3 tournaments lately won by what many people consider to be low tier characters. First, there were 2 World Warrior qualifier events that were run by 2 different Ryu players. And then most recently, we had the Capcom Pro Tour US and Canada West, which was this huge tournament. It had Justin Wong, Sonic Fox, Nephew, PR, Balrog, Combo Fiend. But the winner of the whole thing was Snake Eyes playing Zangief, who many consider to be the bottom 1 worst character in the game. So why is this happening? I've come up with 3 separate theories that I think could explain why these characters that everyone thinks are bad are currently doing quite well, at least in the last week or so. So we're going to go through my theories, and I want to hear from you what you think. Which one is right, or is it a combination of all of them, maybe? Folks, before we get into it, I want to tell you about the sponsor for today's video, Vindictus. Vindictus is a free-to-play, action-packed MMO that features a crazy, fast-paced combat system with tons of hard-hitting combos. There's over 20 unique characters to choose from, and the exciting news is they've just added a new character to the game called Akel. Akel is really unique compared to the other characters in the game so far. He has a rebellious, highly aggressive style with his 2 weapons, Hasta and Grand Targe. And with his abilities like Storm of Steel and Downfall, he can deal massive damage to groups of enemies and gigantic raid bosses alike. There's tons of new events coming with the Akel update as well, so this is a great time to get into the game. New players, make sure to use the link in the description to download the game, and the first 4,000 people to use the coupon code jmcrofts2023 will get a ton of free bonuses to help get them started. So make sure you guys check out Vindictus today, download the game, try it out, and thank you so much to Vindictus for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so theory number 1, I think this is the one that the YouTube comments are gonna like the most, is that we're just dumb and bad, and our tier lists are wrong, and so these characters aren't actually bad. You know, Ryu and Zangief are winning, which, you know, I'm open to this idea. Like in my tier list video that I did a little while ago, you know, I put Zangief as bottom 1. I didn't put Ryu that low, to be honest. I put him at the bottom of A, which is not that bad. But yeah, it's not up here with these guys. But these guys, they didn't win the 2 World Warrior qualifiers. This guy did, Ryu. You know, 801 Strider, he's a really good player. He had this funny tier list where he left these kind of big gaps here between A and C, and then C, and I think this is called Sucks to Suck tier. And you know, we got Ryu down here, and then we got Zangief way down here. So 801 Strider thinking these characters are bad. And then we have Punk the God, you know, one of the all-time goats of Street Fighter at this point. Let's hear what he has to say about Zangief.
This character, I think, is B tier. This could be the only character in the game where it might be very hard to win a tournament with.
The only character that it's really hard to win a tournament with, and yeah, he just won a tournament. So, you know, Punk was a little bit nicer to Ryu, though.
I think Ryu is B tier. He's nothing extraordinary in this game. I think he's just kind of mid.
Okay, maybe I'm clickbaiting by calling Ryu low tier. A lot of people said that he's mid. It seems like maybe Japanese players are a little bit harder on Ryu. Nemo, for example, put Ryu down here, 4th from the bottom, and Zangief way up here. So maybe Japan likes Zangief a little better because they have Itazan. And then this was another tier list from Haitani, another one of the best Japanese players, putting Gief way down here in C and Ryu down here in C+. So it seems like Japan seems to be a little bit lower on Ryu. Here in the West, we tend to put Ryu like lower mid and in the middle, but he just won 2 tournaments. So, you know, clearly he's got to be good, right? Okay, so are these tier lists wrong? Are we dumb? I don't know. Obviously, you know, if I'm wrong, I don't really know that I'm wrong, but I feel like Zangief just is bad, right? And even Snake Eyes has acknowledged Zangief's faults, like Zangief doesn't really have like a combo ender off of jabs, because most of the time Lariat is not going to work. It's something most characters have that he doesn't. He has probably the worst drive rush in the game, and drive rush is a super powerful mechanic, so if your drive rush is really bad, that's really bad for you as a character. He also has no good defensive options, you know, no real invincibility until he gets like level 2 and level 3 supers. So he has all these faults. I think it's understandable why people think that he's bad, and yet he still won, right? Ryu, on the other hand, I am starting to wonder if maybe we've we've all been underrating Ryu just because if we compare the three like most pure Shotos of the game, Ryu, Ken, and Luke, I think most people would agree even now that Ryu is the weakest of the three, right? He's just missing so many things that the other two have. I feel like he's the weakest of the Shotos, but maybe not by that much. You know, like if Ken and Luke are like S tier, maybe Ryu is like A or A minus tier, and we're just putting him lower because we're just subconsciously thinking to ourselves, what's the point of playing this character when the other two Shotos are better? So I don't know. Do I think that the tier lists are like that wrong? Not really, but maybe it's just a little more compressed than we think. Maybe the difference between the top character and the bottom character is not that big. I don't know. All right, let's move on to theory number 2 for why these low tiers are winning these tournaments. My second theory here is that maybe people don't know the matchup. These are characters that are not very commonly played. I mean, we can look at the stats here. If we look at the top 100 highest ranked characters, you know, on the leaderboards here, we can see the usual suspects: Ken, JP, Cammy, Jury. These guys, there's quite a few players in the top 100, but Ryu, there's 0. And Zangief, there's 3. So, you know, even though most people would probably say Zangief is worse than Ryu, I think I get why there's no Ryus. It's because Ken and Luke do a very similar thing to Ryu, and they just kind of do it better. So people think, what's the point of playing him? And yeah, Zangief does kind of a unique thing. He's like the most hardcore, like pure grappler in the game, and yet there's still only 3 of them. So do I feel like lack of matchup knowledge this early on? You know, we're only a few months into the game. People don't know every matchup like the back of their hands. So could that help explain it? I think against Zangief, that seems like a more credible theory. There's not that many Zangiefs, so people don't know the matchup that well. There were a couple things that I saw in the grand finals match, Reynolds versus Zangief. Reynolds versus Snake Eyes, that is. There were a couple things I saw where it's like, okay, he missed like a matchup specific thing. Like if you block Lariat, you can punish with Drive Impact, regardless of which hit of Lariat you block. Reynolds missed a couple Lariat punishes, so it's like, okay, he could have used Drive Impact there. So that was like the most obvious thing that was like, maybe that's a matchup thing. Also, I found Reynolds was standing in like mid-range a lot. Like you can see right here, he's like poking with crouching medium kick, going for like walk-up throw. That was a really common strategy that Reynolds did. And sometimes it didn't work out. As you can see, like Zangief, his footsies are actually pretty good. And especially Snake Eyes. Like Snake Eyes has the most incredible footsies I think I've ever seen. So maybe this is just a player thing. Like maybe against every other Zangief, that's the right style. You know, it might be more reliable to hang out in the mid-range and not just rely on the spikes and stuff. Obviously, the zoning is good, but Zangief only has to get in one time. Whereas it might be a little more reliable to hang out at mid-range where your moves have less recovery. You're less likely to just get blown up by one random jump. So I think I understand why Reynolds played this way. But yeah, in the end, I think maybe a more zoning-focused strategy would have been better. I'm not sure. Or maybe Snake Eyes is just built different. I mean, obviously Snake Eyes is built different. We all know that. But I don't know if that explains why the mid-range was so difficult for Reynolds in Grand Finals. And then the Ryu players. So I realized I haven't even said their names up to this point. So Ending Walker won the Bracket Reset tournament, which was a Capcom Pro Tour World Warrior event. Ending Walker won with Ryu, and then Semi won the German Salt Mines tournament, which was also a World Tour qualifier. So do we really think that people don't know the Ryu matchup? Do we really? I don't really think so, man. Like, it's Ryu. People have played against Ryu for 30 years now, and he always plays the same. So do people not know the matchup? I don't really think that's the issue. I think these guys just played better. I mean, Ending Walker, Ryu versus JP, and Ending Walker just played this like completely perfectly. By the way, for everyone in my other video who told me, they were like, well, Kakeru is the only player making perfect parry look broken. No, you guys gotta watch this match if you haven't. I'll link it down in the description. Ending Walker and Broski made perfect parry look really broken too. So again, maybe that could help explain the discrepancy. Like, it doesn't matter what tier your character is. If you just perfect parry everything, you know, you're gonna get all the hits. So yeah, I don't really think that lack of matchup knowledge was that big of an issue against Ryu. I mean, it's Ryu. You know what he's gonna do. He's gonna do low forward fireball. He's gonna do throw loop shimmy. Like, you know what Ryu's gonna do. So I don't really think the matchup could explain that. But maybe against Geef. Maybe that's the explanation against Geef. All right, finally, theory number 3. is just that maybe Street Fighter 6 is just really balanced. And to me, this is the most credible theory. Maybe SF6 is just a really balanced game. Maybe the low tiers are still really good. I mean, if we think about it, every character has perfect parry. Every character has drive impact, and drive impact has the same frame data for every character too. So even though Zangief is slow, he still has the same speed of drive impact. Every character has drive rush. Not every drive rush is created equal, that's for sure, but you still have it, right? So with these universal mechanics being so strong, and you know, every character has throw loop too, except like Chun-Li. Is she the only one? Chun-Li and Guile maybe? Does Guile have throw loop without using drive gauge? I forget. Anyway, almost every character has throw loop as well. So there are a lot of universal things that the characters have to help them feel strong. And I think we're really seeing that. You know, if we think of a game like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, that game is famously imbalanced, right? Like Sean and 12 and stuff, they're just terrible compared to, you know, Chun-Li and Yoon and stuff like that. And yet there are hardcore character specialists that still win. You know, there are Q players that still win, and all those low tiers, you know, people still win. And part of that is because of parry, because parry is one of the strongest mechanics in Third Strike. Everyone has access to parry. So if you just have the right read, you can always win. And I think we're seeing that a bit in SF6 for sure. If you have the right read, you can win. And like, plus, you know, every character can do damage. There's no one in this game who just doesn't have combos, right? So, you know, if we compare that to Third Strike, like 12 just like doesn't have combos. 12's punishes are horrible. Like half the time his best punish is throw. And that kind of discrepancy doesn't really happen in games anymore. I feel like games now are a lot more balanced, especially because we have patches. If anything is really egregious, it does tend to get patched. And the developers are just better at figuring things out. Plus, you know, they contract players to come in and play the game and give feedback and stuff. So in general, I feel modern games are pretty balanced, and SF5 and SF6 I think have both been generally really balanced. So I think, to me, that's probably the explanation. It turns out that even though Zangief might actually be bottom one, I don't know, maybe everyone's gonna reconfigure it and say Lily's bottom one now and Zangief is like bottom three. I don't know if people are gonna change their minds, but even if Zangief is really low, he can still win because he has access to strong options. And it's the same with Ryu, of course. Even though Ryu might be the worst Shoto, he might be worse than Ken and Luke, he can still just kill you. It only takes a few right guesses. I mean, we've seen, did we just see that combo, by the way? We've seen how much damage Ryu can do off of the right read. Now look at this, off of an overhead, off of a drive rush overhead, he's just gonna kill you. So yeah, Ryu has a lot of strengths. He has some weaknesses too. You know, there are some aspects of his game where he doesn't feel as oppressive as the top tiers, but he can definitely hang. So anyway, those are my 3 theories. Let me know, what do you guys think? Down in the comments. Do you think we're just dumb and wrong about tiers? Are the tiers don't matter people gonna rise up? That's like the #1 comment I get when I talk about tier lists, is like tier lists are fake news. Tier lists don't mean anything. Skill over everything. And, you know, maybe Snake Eyes just proved those people right. I don't know, guys. But with that, we're gonna end the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.